Hi, this is Mark Rosen from WCCO TV, and it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend Ron Henderson, the Fitness King, presenting Motivation, one word to help change your life.
Welcome to Motivation. I'm Ron Henderson, a.k.a. the Fitness King. I'm sitting here with my guest, Marcus Refsland. Welcome to Motivation, Marcus. How are you?
I'm doing great.
All right. And I don't know if I should call him, well, I will call him Pastor Marcus, all right?
Yeah. You can call me Marcus.
Can I call you Marcus? Okay,
yes.
All right. Just don't call you late for dinner.
That's
okay.
right. That's
well,
right.
This is going to be an exciting show. Marcus is going to be sharing some things about what he's working on right now. But before we get into that, if you watch Motivation before, I always do something which I call it basically up close and personal, because my viewers want to actually know who's this guy on the show. Okay, so where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about yourself. You got any kids? Are you married?
Well, I was born and raised on the West Coast, and was Lakeside, Oregon, walking distance to the Pacific Ocean. Okay. And I'm talking so small, there wasn't a stop sign, or there were stop signs, no stoplights, no school, no fast food restaurants. We didn't have anything. But
any PP out there, please?
Oh, well, there actually wasn't. There wasn't. So we actually had gangsters from California that would come and hide out in our town, just because there wasn't.
Really? And so you had no cops?
They would come through once a week and sort of do a little round. The cops came from about 30 minutes out.
Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what was the name of this town again?
Lakeside, Oregon.
Okay, it sounded like Mayberry. Folks, it sounded like Mayberry to me.
There were also, I said there was nothing, but we did have 4 taverns.
Okay, you had taverns.
So it was a typical small town.
Okay, let me ask you this question, because I know we're going to be talking about things involving the ministry.
Yeah.
How many churches did you have in your town that you grew up in?
There was about 3 churches there. Okay. 2 of them didn't really have services, though. Okay. My dad was actually the pastor of one of them.
Okay, really?
And so I was a pastor's kid, PK, and so been in sort of ministry my whole life. We actually lived in the church, above the church, so part of my chores were going through the sanctuary and cleaning out and organizing the hymnals and taking out the trash. And
so you guys had the old hymn notes. You got a favorite song that you used to sing in church?
Yeah. Well, I love I'll Fly Away.
Okay. Let me hear a little bit.
Oh, no.
Come on, let's do it together.
Okay.
I'll fly away. How's it go?
I'll fly away, oh glory. Yeah, but
I love this. I love the hymns, man.
It's a great song, but my voice is just not there.
Any other favorites?
Well, yeah.
Folks at home, I'm putting my guests. I do that on Motivation. They know that. I do that every week. I put people on the spot. Give me another favorite.
Well, let's see here. Well, just any of them, really. Okay. You. What's your favorite? How about that?
One of mine would be Just a Closer Walk with Thee.
I like that one too.
Granted, Jesus.
That's a great one. Yeah, that's a great one.
One of my favorite ones.
Man, there's just so many. There's so many, and my father-in-law, he's a big Gaither fan, and so they're sort of being played all the time. I hear them. Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up there.
Yeah.
Preacher's kid. How did you meet your wife?
Well, I was 18 when my parents decided to move us all the way out here to Minnesota. Right. And my dad took a church over in Wadena, Minnesota, which is a rural area here in Minnesota. And I didn't stay there very long before I came to Minneapolis. I moved to the cities. I was 18, moved out of the house, started my life. And
you were 18, was that like 3 years ago?
Well, it was back in 2000. So 2000.
Oh, so you're older than you look. You look like a young man. Okay.
Yeah. So I was here for a while. I was 27 years old when I actually met my wife. I tell people I prayed and I said, God, I pray that you'll give me strength and courage so that I can change the world.
Okay.
And you know what he did?
What?
He gave me a wife.
He gave you a wife.
And she changed me. She changed me and made me stronger. So,
good, amen.
So we got married quite quickly. From the first date to the time that we got married, it was 9 months.
Wow.
And we started our adventure together.
Wow.
And
now, was she a preacher's kid too?
No, but she was born and raised in the church, grew up in the church, and her sister was in my youth ministry. I was a youth pastor.
Okay, where were you youth pastor?
I was youth pastor at Emmanuel Christian Center, which is over in Spring Lake Park, Minnesota, and has awesome church, awesome youth ministry, and had a lot of fun. And my wife, Kirsten, she was off at college. So her sister was in my youth ministry, but I'd never met her. And then she came home one day, and I got to sort of meet her, and I just sort of moved quickly and pursuing her and putting a ring on her finger.
Okay. Because I got to ask you this question because we're going to be talking about a church that you're starting.
Mm-hmm.
But what called you actually into? You said you were a youth pastor.
Yeah.
Marcus, what called you in there? Were you laying in bed at night and all of a sudden that little voice? What was it?
Well, I wanted to be a search and rescue worker. Okay. That was sort of my dream as a kid, and I wanted to go join the Coast Guard and sort of get all that training there and spend some time there, and then go and maybe become a search and rescue worker in one of the national parks. Okay. So that was sort of my direction that I was headed. Mm-hmm. But I was at a camp, a Christian camp, and a speaker was speaking, and I was at the altar praying, and I felt God sort of stirring inside of me, and I felt like I needed to go into the ministry, and I wanted to be a traveling speaker, an evangelist.
Sure, evangelist, yes.
And they always had good stories. I wanted to tell some stories, and have the big crowd and all that.
I never had any good stories for them, but go ahead.
And so I came home, and I told my dad, I said, I want to take over our youth ministry. Mm-hmm. Now, our youth ministry had nobody in it. Okay. We had about 3 students. Okay. Small town, small church. And I said, well, I want to take this thing over and start preaching, because I wanted to start developing that skill set. And so I did. I took it over, and we went from 3 to 5. Okay. And I started waking up in the morning and jogging the bus route because I was homeschooled. Okay. And so I'd jog the bus route and invite kids out to church. Okay. And we grew from 5 to 35 in a small little town. Wow. And I started to see kids give their life to Christ and have their lives transformed. Mm-hmm. And I realized, being a public speaker and evangelist, they speak and move on. Sure. And I realized I couldn't do that. And I had a shift, and I was like, I want a pastor, because when I see someone have a life change moment, I want to then walk them through the next stage, because it's a journey. Oh yeah. And
it's a big call, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you spend a lot of time praying and thinking about it? Because because you have a lot of people who I wish there were more shepherds and less hirelings, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So did you do a lot of praying about that?
Yeah, it was sort of in that process of sort of stepping into taking over the youth ministry, and then praying it through, and God just sort of speaking to me, this is what I've called you to do. And I knew it was youth ministry. Yes. And I was a junior in high school. Mm-hmm. So from that moment on, I mean, that's 17 years of youth ministry if you start the clock there. Yeah. And I loved every minute of it.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So now you go from being a youth minister, and you're starting a church. Okay.
Yep.
What is the name of the church?
The church is going to be Timbers Church.
Okay. And where is it located? Where will it be located?
It's going to be located in Rogers, Minnesota.
Rogers, Minnesota.
Yep.
Really?
So that's really close to here.
So why Rogers? Because it seems like there's so many churches that are really out there. First of all, why Rogers, and also, where did the name Timbers come from?
Yeah. Well, why Rogers? We love Rogers. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. We think it's a great community. We think it's a community that our family, fits.
Do you have a shirt that says "We love Minnesota"? Can I get some shirts?
We do.
You do?
Well, we want to make one, because we love the city and the community of Rogers. And so right now we have our Timber shirt, but we're going to make one that we love our community, because we think it's an awesome community. And so here's the story behind that. Really, it came down to, I never thought we would plant a church. Mm-hmm. And that's basically starting a church. Mm-hmm. I never thought we'd do that.
And why? And why is that?
Well, I didn't think I was wired that way. It's sort of an entrepreneur thing. I thought it was also sort of a fad thing. I saw a lot of other people doing it, and thought, well, there's so many churches out there. Why do we need to start another one? Right. And so I thought I would step into another church. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, when we were stepping out of youth ministry, when God started the stirring, I put my resume together, sent it out, had national churches, nationally known churches that flew us out, interviewed us. Yes. We went to the East Coast, to the West Coast looking at it, but we had this gut feeling that just wasn't a piece. Yes. And even with being in the final stage of the hiring process, we just knew that, man, this just wasn't it. Mm-hmm. And so we prayed about church planting, and we heard God say, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay. And I found out something that was sort of staggering to me in that process, is I found out that America has over 190 million unchurched people living here in the States. Okay. And that puts America as the 4th largest unchurched nation in the world.
Really?
And so that's pretty crazy. When you think about it, we are a Christian nation, founded, and communities were built around the church.
Yes.
A church would go up, or a school, and the community would form around it. And
But you're saying it's unchurched.
yeah,
But yet it seems like you see churches everywhere.
Yeah, the population kept growing.
Right.
And as the population kept growing, we didn't keep up.
Right.
And then along with that, in 2016, there was over 5,000 churches that had to close their doors.
Yes.
And so we saw that there was a need. And so as we were praying around the need, we sort of said, okay, we're going to plant. And then we sort of drove around, looked around the cities. We knew we wanted to be around Minneapolis, St. Paul, because we loved this city. And we just fell in love with Rogers. And when we got married at the Wellstead of Rogers.
Okay.
Our reception was there.
Okay.
And it's an assisted living home,
Okay.
but a beautiful banquet hall.
Okay.
And I joked to my wife on my wedding day, I said, we're going to begin our life and end our life here.
Yeah.
And so here we are now, 7-8 years later, and we're heading back to that community. And so we locked into Rogers. And after we locked in, we found out it's the fastest growing community in the state. We found out that it's doubled in size in the last 10 years, projected to double in size again. Okay. And yet in the last 5 years, there's been over 5 churches that have had to close their doors.
Okay, and why is that, do you think?
Well, I think there's several things that play into that.
Answer that if I can interrupt you, if you can answer that, Marcus, and then explain what do you feel is going to make you guys different.
Yeah. Well, I think there's several things that play into that. I think sometimes churches, they start and they never really get their wheels under them, and then they have to close. Right. I think there's also churches that they did grow to a significant number. There's several churches there that we've heard of that were running over 260 at one point, but had to dwindle down to nothing. Okay. And we don't like to change.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
And the mission never changes, but our strategies do.
Right.
And if we don't change our strategies with, things, eventually you're going to see those numbers go down. You'll see people die off, and eventually you'll see those doors close.
Yes.
And so sometimes it's just best to start over. Okay. And so we're going to do that. And the name, you had asked earlier about the name.
Where'd you get the name?
The name came from, Rogers was founded as a rich timber community, and so we just wanted to play off of that.
Sure.
We felt like, being a West Coast boy, I've been around timber my whole life,
yes.
And this was a community that was formed around timber.
You look like a logger.
Well, I have a lot of logger friends. I'm not, but I have a lot of friends that are my high school buddies that are, yes. And so that's where we got the name, and we just think that's a cool name, sets us apart.
It does, yeah.
And
sounds like a restaurant.
Yeah. So Timbers Church, and then what's going to set us apart is, one, we're going to preach the message of Jesus Christ, right. And that might not set us apart because there's a lot of churches doing that. But the way that we're going to do that might set us apart, and the way that we want to do that is we want to focus on 4 things. And
before you answer, maybe direct it to the audience.
Yeah.
Because the reason I have you on here, first of all, is I want people to hear your heartbeat. So, especially you're starting a new church, and I want people to get to know the pastor.
Yeah.
Okay, you're the senior pastor of the church. I think it's important that the audience gets to actually know you. So speak to them.
If I was in sales, I would tell you this: my product is the best product out there. Because my product is Jesus Christ, and He literally transforms lives, and He gives you a ticket, if you accept Him, into eternity. And that's a pretty amazing product when you stop and think about it.
Amen.
Okay? But the problem is, we're pretty bad at sales.
Right, okay.
And sometimes we don't sell it well.
Yes.
And I believe this. I believe that as we start a church, our focus is not going to be about pushing an agenda upon somebody, but instead we're going to accept people where they are.
Right.
And our goal is to focus on 4 areas and to add value to those 4 areas. And that is your life, your family, our community, and then our world. And so we want to add value to that because we believe that your life matters.
Oh yeah.
And your life matters.
Oh, yeah.
And we also believe that God is capable of making good families better and broken families whole.
Yes.
And so we want to give those tools and those things to assist people in that. And then we also believe that our community can become stronger when there's a strong moral foundation to build upon, and a church offers that. And we also believe that missions has to be a priority, not just an afterthought. Therefore, we're already buying Bibles for missionaries over in Thailand, and it's really cool to see the impact that's already being made through our church, even though we're not meeting yet. But we're going to focus on bringing value, because if we can bring value to those 4 areas, we believe that it's gonna open up doors for us to share the gospel message of Jesus Christ.
And how will you do that? When you say bring value, how will you do that?
Well, there's lots of creative ways, and so we're in that development stage of sort of putting strategies together for that right now. So we don't have all those ways, but one of the ways is just valuing people and listening, right? And taking that time to sit down with somebody, even if they don't believe what you believe, not pushing them out because of that, but saying, let's sit down and I want to hear your story. And so we'll take time to listen to people's stories, because everybody's on a journey, and we want to invite them to start the journey, which is sort of just finding Christ and then letting Him sort of transform your life. And that's never complete. You know, you're still going through that process. I'm still going through that process. And
never learning.
And even when we're 80, 90, hopefully we're still have that hunger to learn and grow. And so we want to invite people to start the journey with us.
And are you doing it by yourself, or do you have some help?
We're not doing it by ourselves. There's our team. So we got me and my wife and my 4 kids, Ryder, Adeline, and Libby and Bray, all under the age of 5. And then we're building on that team with what we call a launch team. So right now we're meeting with our team members on Sundays, and we sort of.
And where do you meet at?
Well, we meet in different places in Rogers, so the community room, different.
The reason I asked you, because if some people they're watching right now, they're thinking, hey, I live in Rogers, so I'm close by. Maybe they're interested in participating. How can I get a hold of you guys for that?
Well, I would say send us an email, contact@timberschurch.com, or befriend me on Facebook, Marcus Refsland, and or tweet me, or any one of those social media avenues, and I'll buy you coffee, and I'll sit down and sort of cast a vision with you and explain how to be a part. But it takes a team, because there's a setup, tear down team. There's people that are working with the kids. There's people that are doing worship. There's people that are just meeting people and greeting people. And there's so many moving pieces, and our goal is to open our doors for our church in January of this coming year. And so right now we meet weekly with our team. We do a lot of praying. We do a lot of developing our strategies on how to add value to those 4 areas, and then just developing their leadership ability as we pour into them, because our vision is to be a multiplying church. And that doesn't mean just growing our numbers. That means that as people join our team, we want to see them reproduce themselves. So if they're on the worship team, hopefully they're teaching somebody else how to be as talented as they are on that guitar. You know, and we want to multiply ourselves. And I believe that's a kingdom-minded vision.
Amen. So where does this is all great, but where do the finances come from, brother?
It takes money to move vision forward, doesn't it? And so we have people that are getting behind us. We have churches that have invested. I travel around and speak at different churches right now, and they take up offerings and invest in us that way. We also have individuals who invest, business owners who have invested in us, and individuals who say, we're going to invest one time into you. And then we also have people that come up and say, hey, we're going to invest monthly for a window of 2 to 3 years, because it takes, they say, to start a business, they say it takes between 3 and 5 years before you ever turn a buck, right? Well, the same is sort of true with the church. Before you get enough people in your congregation to actually pay the bills, because you're renting out facilities, you're buying equipment in order to keep the kids safe, and just all the things that go with it, having that monthly support goes a long ways. And so it's just friends, family, and then business owners and different people who...
Do you have a giving website for somebody listening? Where would they go for that?
If you go to timberschurch.org, we have just a generic page set up that says partner with us right now. Our website will be launching here really, really soon. But if you click on the timberschurch.org, it will go partner with us. It'll take you to an online place where you can actually
you can actually give right now, folks.
That's good. And they'll get tax credit So as you end to that, you know, at the end of the year, your business might be looking for that write-off. Well, hey, we're a great thing to get a write-off.
Amen, amen. Are there any specific things right now you guys need?
Well, one is we need prayer support.
Okay.
So we're looking for people that will commit to praying an hour a week for us, and we send out weekly or monthly emails to them. We're looking for people to join our launch team. We want to see that team continue to grow. So people and investors. When it comes to the investors, you can put money. We haven't bought any of the kids stuff yet. So there's things that we need to buy as far as curriculum to teach our kids. There's we'd like to buy like a bounce house and check-in systems, systems to keep those kids safe. That's a huge piece that we need to purchase. And so I would say that's priority number one, because we value the family, and families come with kids.
All right. Now I got to ask you this, because this sounds really great and everything. I'm going to go back to an earlier thing we were talking about.
Yeah.
You're doing something very positive.
Yeah.
But you said so many churches closed. Does that ever, you know, come back in the back of your head thinking, are we doing the right thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, when you walk away from a paycheck, you most definitely have those questions. Are we doing the right thing?
Yes.
I've taken up, right now I'm doing concrete work and irrigation work, so I get real dirty. And so when you step out of an office and get dirty again, it just sort of wakes you up a little bit. And I can tell you from the moment that God has called us, you know, and that was about a year and a half ago, there hasn't been a day. All our stuff is still in storage. It's all in storage and stuff like that. There hasn't been a day that I've questioned the call.
Amen.
And
That's good.
And we're all in. And so it's.
And you said something, folks. He was actually preaching at my church, Riverdale Church, and
a great church, by the way.
Yeah, it's a great church, Pastor Rick Santiago. And you were talking about the fact that even though you're the pastor, you're doing part-time work and all this stuff right now, and can you share a little bit about how that's actually helped you?
Well, it's helped me in a lot of different ways. One is it's put me back into the real world. And you get in a church bubble when you're working in the church, and you're just around church people all the time. And so it's fun to rub shoulders with people that don't believe what you believe. And so that's been a sort of just a reality check again, and a wake-up call. It's reminded me of just working hard and grinding, which I sort of like. And it takes that to build the church, because you're burning at both ends. Plus, you know, managing the family and all of that. And so, but I like that. I like going full steam ahead. But I think what you're talking about is sort of those relationships. I have this one guy that I've been working with, alpha male personality, concrete guy, and he came and he gave me a hug the other day. A bear hug. And when an alpha male gives you a bear hug, you're a little bit worried, you know what I'm saying? And he turned around, he walked away, and he stopped, he looked back at me, he said, "Marcus, you'll never know how much I value you." And what he was saying was a couple things. One is, I don't know how to do concrete, but I know how to work hard. And so I've been serving him with this, my hands. I show up.
So he knows you don't do a good job at concrete?
Well, he knows I can work harder than everybody else.
I'm not going to hire you then. We need someone to do concrete.
You hire him and I'll be his grunt, you know, and he does really good work. But yeah, I can serve him with my hands. I can move that piece of concrete. I can bust it out. I can move some dirt. I can sweat with him, you know. And as I've served him in that way, he tells me, "You'll never know how much I value you." Because he's been pushing people out of his life. He introduces himself and he says, "I'm the biggest jerk that you'll ever meet." And he uses different language in that. And that's how he introduces himself. But he hasn't been able to push me away. And when he said that, "Marcus, you'll never know how much I value you," that's when I had that aha moment. That's what it's about. The next day, he begins to tell me a story. And it's a crazy story. And then he begins to ask me my story. Why? Because I was able to add value to him. And if you can add value to somebody's life, doors fly open. You know, doors fly open then for you to be able to share what you want to share. And that's something that can change his life. He told me this. He said, "Marcus, I'm not much into going to church. But if I was ever to go to a church, it would be your church."
He'll probably come to your church.
I believe that. And I hope he does.
Amen. Amen. So you're set to launch January what again?
Well, we don't have an exact date, but we're sort of looking at January 21st, and so that day might move forward or backwards just a little bit, but it's gonna be in the new year, and all the pieces. There's a lot of moving pieces, so we got to get all the pieces together.
You got your first sermon ready yet for that?
I got lots of sermons in my back pocket. They're ready, and they're
the opening day.
Yeah, I do. I have quite a few. I'll probably tweak them a little bit as we get closer, but I got quite a few, and it's just a matter of which one we're going to pull out.
So will you be sending out flyers to the community and that stuff too?
We'll be most definitely doing some community stuff.
Or social media, mostly social media?
Yep, you can find Timbers Church on Facebook and Instagram. And we'll be promoting there, and we'll probably do a mailer as well, and do some just canvassing the area.
Okay, all right. Marcus, I want to thank you for sharing your story. Folks at home, you've been listening to Ron Henderson, a.k.a. the Fitness King, and my guest, Pastor Marcus Refsland.
That's right.
Starting a church in Rogers,
Minnesota,
called Timbers Church. If you're looking to get involved in the church, I would say you go to his website, and I'll have all the information at the bottom of the screen. In fact, you can see it right now while we're talking. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Can they call you as well?
They can call me as well.
What number would they call you at?
Yep. My number is 763-442-0738.
Yes, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Folks at home, in all that you do, remember, stay fit, stay blessed, stay motivated. No one can get you down unless you allow them to. You're looking for a good church, check them out. I want to thank you for tuning in to Motivation. Again, in all that you do, stay fit, gang. Stay fit. We'll see you.
Yep.
Great job.